So today is the second instalment to the live art talks. So if you didn't already know, I am Jonathan Soden. I am the founder of the Soden collection, a contemporary art and sculpture gallery in Shropshire. So tonight we're going to be talking with Ian Smith, who is a contemporary expressionist artist. And I'm just going to invite Ian into the chat. Bear with me a moment. Hi Ross. Right, here he is. For Ian to come in, I will just switch my camera around. Oh, hi Ian.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Where are you?
Good. Oh, I was just about to show everyone some of your paintings while I was waiting for you, but
Are you waiting for me? Okay.
as you're here, I've got It's
Okay.
orange. It's orange juice.
It's orange juice. Looks like something else. Okay, I'm glad you clarified that.
No, actually, it's a whiskey and ginger beer.
Right. I have been drinking wine, but I thought it looked really good if I'm drinking water now.
So you're a contemporary expressionist based in Shropshire, Manchester, Cheshire.
Yes. Yeah, I like to spread about it. So yeah. I've got a house in Shropshire, and I've got a very small studio at home, and where I do small paintings. And but I have a very big studio in Cheshire. Well, it's actually Stockport, but it's an old mill that I'm in, and it's a big space, which I've always dreamed of, because I kind of was in my last studio for about 7 years, and it's getting a bit small. So yeah, that's good.
Where's home for you then? If you've
I'm based in Manchester during the week, sort of Monday to Friday. So so I kind of go to the Stockport studio there, so Monday to Friday, and then at weekends I'm in Shropshire. So and then when I can, I kind of get into the studio there and do the little ones. So it's good.
Brilliant. So just for everyone joining, there's a comment box, but also there's a question box in the live chat. So if you've got any questions during the talk, if you want to pop them in the question box, and we'll try and get through as many as possible. So Ian, how long have you been a professional full-time artist?
Well, I mean, I started painting at the age of 37, which was 13 years ago. But I kind of, I went to art school. I went to Salford Uni and did a degree there for 4 years, and I graduated 8 years ago, I think, there. So I kind of been sort of nearly 8 years as a professional full-time artist. So
yeah.
yeah.
We had a question from someone from Instagram called Amir. He said, "How did you start?" But I suppose how would you answer that? Because I suppose if you've been to college,
Yeah.
how would you say you started as a professional artist, maybe?
Well, I kind of knew. I mean, when I started painting, I didn't realise it would be my career. You know, I kind of started it just as, you know, because I wanted to, you know, I just enjoyed painting, and kind of wasn't very good when I first started, but I just really enjoyed it. So I just carried on. I just never really stopped. And then as the time went on, I kind of, I mean, I moved up from Bristol in the southwest, moved up to Shropshire and Manchester, and I kind of thought, yeah, I want to go to art school. So I kind of decided that was what I was going to do. Yeah, I kind of really never really thought I'd ever do it as a career. But when I left uni, I got myself a studio, and I just kind of just laid low really, and I didn't really know what I was doing as far as, you know, I was just trying lots of things out with my work and stuff. So, I mean, I got a studio that was sort of on the ground floor, and I could convert it into a gallery space twice a year and have little shows. And I kind of thought that that would be, you know, that was how I would sell my work. I didn't realize that galleries would ever be interested in what I was doing in those days. So that was kind of how it really started, really. Yeah.
And the title that you use, Contemporary Expressionist,
Yeah, yeah.
how would you explain that in your own words?
Well, I mean, I'm first of all, I was really sort of inspired when I first started painting by the abstract expressionist. I kind of really sort of like was in awe of that sort of that macho sort of painting sort of. It was very male dominated, sort of quite sort of aggressive painting, and you know, I mean, I'm not really a fan of Pollock, to be honest, but because I kind of find it's a little bit samey. But that sort of cocooning. There are other artists as well, you know, that sort of really inspired me like that. That that sort of real sort of a raw, sort of aggressive sort of painting. I mean, I'm not interested in sort of photorealism or anything like that. I appreciate it, but for me, it's the raw emotion of painting that really excites me, and it's the way that paint can really, you know, sort of really sort of get your emotions going. Just not so much by what's being painted, by how it's been painted. That's really that's what's always sort of fascinated me, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of. But I mean, I'm alive, so I guess I'm contemporary. So kind of, yeah, kind of think sort of contemporary expressionist sort of says really what I am. So sort of a, you know, there was a sort of first wave of the abstract expressionists sort of in New York, and after the Second World War, and then there was a second wave. So maybe I'm an eighth wave, I don't know, but I was saying, so I kind of say contemporary expressionist kind of, for me, kind of sums up what I do. So
Yeah, I think the expressionist for me is exactly what the word means. It's an expression of a feeling. And for me, the first time that I really saw that with my own eyes was the abstract expressionist. It was the Royal Academy.
Oh yeah, it was a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it was Mitchell. I think the artist was Mitchell, and it's just the way she applied paint was so raw and so expressive that it really conveyed almost like her feeling when she was painting it.
It's so interesting that you've picked her out, because as I said, I was always sort of inspired by the sort of the macho abstract expressionist thing, but in reality, most of my favorite artists are women artists, and in particular, Joan Mitchell is the favorite of mine, because for me, there's something about the way that she applied paint. I mean, the interesting thing is, if you look at her history, she had a very she had a lot of ill health. I mean, she had a lot of sickness. She had like throat cancer and all sorts of horrible things. I mean, she was a really heavy smoker as well, which probably didn't help. But she had a really you know, terrible time with her health, but she painted while she wasn't well, which I really admire, because I can't do that. If I've got a cold, I can't paint. But no, she you know, she painted, and you can see the pain in the way that she throws the paint at the canvas, and I just find it incredibly moving and incredibly exciting. And I did see that show at the Royal Academy, and I went a couple of times, and I sat in front of her paintings for quite a long time, because they just kind of really speak to me. Yeah.
I think with her work, when I saw it at the Royal Academy, I didn't really know too much about her or her life, or really much about the New York scene. But I sat in front of that painting, and it got me quite emotional, and I didn't know the reasons why I was feeling that.
Yes.
The other thing that I do is, because I'm dyslexic, I never really read the blurb on the tickets.
Yeah.
I go with the Falls thing. If I have the headphones and I listen in, and so the curator's talking about the art, And this painting was done, I think, a month after her mother passed away.
Right. Okay.
And as soon as I heard that, it was just like, well, I kind of understand.
Yes. Yeah.
What with expressionism, that's what you feel. You do feel the art, the way the paint's been applied, and that's exactly. I mean, as I just step away,
Yeah.
you kind of see. Well, you definitely see that with your work. It's very expressive.
Yes. Yeah. I really feel, for me, that my own work has to have energy in it. It has to have, I quite like the light in it, but also, but I think the energy is really important for me, and to give that sense of, I don't know, that's that a real sense of something going on. I mean, I love abstract art, but it needs to be more than just shapes and color. And I think emotional impact is what I always strive for. I don't always get it. I don't always achieve it in my own work, and I know I don't sometimes. And I sometimes I let the painting out there because I like it for other reasons. But really, the most important thing that I look for in my own work is emotional impact and energy.
Yeah,
And I think, if I feel that, hopefully somebody else, feels it by looking at it. So
yeah. We just had a question come in. Um, so, what do you react to emotionally
what
with
do
your
I
paint?
in a painting? I think it's yeah. I think when you see some brushwork looks like it's done very quickly,
Mm,
and that kind of really excites me. And sometimes I do it in my own work, and I know sometimes in a painting it can look quite aggressive, but I quite like that if it's balanced with softer marks, or if it's aggressive all over. Sometimes it works. For me, I like a balance. I like the juxtaposition between the softer, smaller marks and the bigger, more aggressive marks as well. For me, I find that's a painting that can be quite interesting if it has the different levels of emotion and feeling. So yeah, I think
yeah.
yeah. Does that answer? Do you think so?
And then we've had another question come in. This is something I was going to touch on actually. How was your color palette evolved throughout the years?
Oh God, for a long time I was obsessed with pink and green. I hate pink, and and a lot of green. I think what it is that when I decide that I don't like a color, for some reason I start to want to use it, and then I start to like the color. I don't know why I do it, but I don't know. That's how I do it. I don't know. But I find that, I mean, I've got this new studio at the moment, and I find that I'm really experimenting with color, and I think color is the main focus for me at the moment, more than form
Mm,
or anything else. And I'm getting really excited by just really exploring, with different colors. And yeah, it's funny. I've had people come to the studio and they say, I don't want anything with pink in it, and they end up buying two big paintings with lots of pink in it. And it's kind of how the colors are used, and what you use with the pink. I mean, if it's just pink, then it might not be very appealing. But sometimes a pink can be very seductive, and I quite like using seductive colours. And yeah, I kind of enjoying the colour experiments at the moment. So
because you say pink and green,
yeah,
but the thing that I wanted to touch on was actually your color palette is quite classical.
yeah, I kind of like a classical feel. I don't know. Because it kind of obviously because I studied art, and I kind of got interested in, I mean, first of all, it's the abstract expressionist, but then a few years later, I started to really get into Renaissance painting, and because of the light and everything else. And I think, yeah, I think I do sort of use a lot of compositions from classical painting. I like that play. I like an abstract painting, but sort of at a glimpse, it might look like an old master, like as far as, a very short glimpse, like, the composition or the light can be really inspiring. So I don't know why I kind of like that feel. I don't know. I think it's
Mm.
because it kind of references, art history and painting that's happened before. But I mean, the whole thing about painting is I'm so fascinated by it because it's the thing that it's like, even with like the age of computers that we're in, and or AI and everything that's coming ahead, before I peg it. I mean, I think the fact that painting was like the very first thing that man did, and woman, other than killing, hunting and eating, and kind of like sort of that expression, and the fact that I quite like painting to feel like it's handmade rather than sort of like it's been done meticulously. I quite like that rawness, and because it kind of also references back to cave painting, or that very original sort of form of expression. So yeah, that really excites me. So
Yeah, I find with your work, an old generation, that abstract work doesn't always do it for them. They're more classical.
yeah,
Um, they almost speak kindly about your work because I think because of the palette that you use, because it's quite classical,
yeah,
it's quite comfortable for them
yeah,
as well.
yes, yeah,
So it's easy to for them to kind of step over to abstract work
yeah,
because of the color palette, which is quite nice
yeah,
from
yeah,
from a gallery.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm very, I kind of, I really enjoy um, experimenting in my work. I kind of use classical painting sometimes as reference points, but also I'm always looking for something new, and I hope I don't find it. I mean, I'm not looking to figure out a way of working and then continue to work that way. Every painting I do is an experiment, basically. Every painting, and kind of pretty much what I look at around me in the studio is my own paintings, and I'm looking at elements within some of the other paintings I've done, and I use them in new paintings. So it's a very organic process. So I'm not
Mm.
sort of, there's no grand narrative, or there's no sort of, I'm not trying to tell a story, in a picture as such. It's more about the painting itself, and the process is a journey, and yeah, it's more about the journey rather than I don't want to get to a point where I kind of feel that, oh, this is, I don't want to replicate the same painting over and over again. It's a constant movement forward, and hopefully forward, and not backwards anyway. So yeah.
We've got lots of questions coming in, so thank you everyone who's asking the questions. So if I just pick, oh, here we go, might recognise. Do you paint in acrylic or oils or both or other medium?
Very good question. Uh, I used to paint in oils for about 3 or 4 years, and then 5 years ago I got really stuck with what I was doing, and I kind of really didn't know what I was doing, where what my work was about, and everything. So I kind of went back to acrylic, and I started working on small paintings, like 30 by 30 paintings on panel, but they kind of took a direction of their own, and I kind of really enjoyed working with acrylic, but I tried to make it look more interesting, and I quite like using. I mean, at uni you have to you try different things out, and you're using all sorts of different materials. I've always believed that I think you should pick one thing and do it really, really well. So that's kind of what I've been striving to do. So for years I've been using acrylic paint, but I'm just about to start using oils again. But I have been procrastinating quite badly. But now I've got the new studio in the space. It enables me to work on both mediums. I tend to not to like to work on both acrylic and oil on particular paintings. I try to like to keep them separate, because it is a very different way of working. I've always worked quite quickly, But now I'm tending to, because I've got more space now and I can work on so many more different things, it's allowing me to slow down a bit and you know, I've always tended to work very quickly on, you know, just short bursts on a painting and then leave it and then, you know, look at something else. So, so I'm kind of finding a new way of, you know, sort of doing that, but with much more space now. It's allowing me to, you know, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. But I'm really enjoying, you know, having the option to work on different things. But yeah, oil paintings is coming back.
Brilliant. There's another question that leads on to that, from that is, do you use some really mixed colours, or do you mix the right colours before you start painting?
A combination of both, really. I quite like, I mean, a lot of my work is about the accidents, and it's about editing, and, you know, the things that can go wrong sometimes are really exciting. And I think sometimes as well, it's really important to know, you know, sometimes, you know, something happens and you think, oh my God, that's really annoying. But if you leave it and then maybe go back to it the next day, sometimes you kind of have a different opinion of it the following day. So I think it's a good thing to just to give some space between, you know, bursts of, you know, activity, and also yeah, mistakes definitely sometimes need a little bit of thought to think maybe they can be incorporated in the work. So I mean, paint can be very unpredictable, it's slippery stuff. So so you know, I think sometimes it's, you know, it's like having an idea of what you're going to do, but I think it's having the flexibility and freedom to think, actually, yeah, I'm going to maybe go off slightly on that and leave those marks in. So that can actually give the work energy. You know, it's the accident sometimes, or also sabotage. I'm quite, you know, if things start to get a little bit tight, sometimes I quite like to sabotage the work.
What way?
Not in a sort of a not too damaging way, but like maybe sort of throw some paint on it or something. Or sometimes, like, you know, I see the pot of dirty water the brushes have been in. Sometimes that can
It's as if you're having like an argument or like a fall.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
That's interesting. That's interesting. There was
Yeah.
another question come in. How many hours do you paint in a day?
That's an interesting question. I like to. I'm one of those rare people that actually paint early in the morning. I find that I'm most creative in the mornings. A lot of artists are sort of like, they work into the night, and I can't do that. I mean, I fall asleep at like 9 o'clock at night anyway, so, so I'm a real lightweight. But I've always found that I like to get into the studio quite early in the morning. I mean, this time of year isn't as easy, obviously, but I like to, you know, in the summer, I like to get in at 6:30 and you know, have breakfast and a coffee, and then maybe start painting sort of at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then I kind of fizzle out by lunchtime. I'm finding with the new studio, I am working longer, but then it's further away, so maybe that's got something to do with it. But it's funny, when I all of a sudden I think, I've had enough, I need to get out of here, and it comes on quite quickly, and then I need to abandon ship and leave. And that's good, because sometimes, I mean, I used to like go past that point and keep working, and then you end up really sort of messing up like what you've been doing in the morning. So it's good to, when the little head in the little voice in your head is telling you to get out, you get out. So yeah.
That kind of answers the question. I don't know whether you want to touch any more on this one. Bear with me. Do you have any specific art rituals then? So you say you get up early in the morning.
Yeah. Coffee. I mean, but a good coffee. It's got to be a good coffee. Yeah. Yeah, that really helps.
How many coffees before you start?
How many what?
How many coffees before you actually start?
Oh, there's only one coffee. It's a strong one.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't. It's only got to be one coffee, but a really, really good one. So yeah, that helps. And then breakfast. And then I kind of yeah, I don't hang around too much these days. I think it's because of the time of year and I mean, having a big studio means it's cold. I mean, yeah, you got to keep moving. If you start sitting around and procrastinating and just looking at stuff, then you ain't you're not going to get sort of in the mood for painting. So I kind of feel that it's good to get painting straight away, to do something. And sometimes it's good to pick up something. I mean, I have a lot of stuff like lying around in the studio, like a lot of works on paper that are just like lying around. And sometimes it's I always like to go into the studio in the morning, and my main aim is to walk away and to have things that I've worked on looking better than what I went in. And I think I'm kind of doing that these days. For a long time, often I made them worse, and then I go away and think, oh God, what have I done, and everything else. But I think, and time has come on, and I tend to, yeah, pretty much reasonably, happy with what I've done. I don't have to feel that I have to finish things, but I just want them to look a bit better than when I walked in the morning. So yeah, that kind of works for me. So I suppose, is that a ritual? I suppose it is, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We've had message from Jacob. Do you listen to any sounds or music while you work, or do you prefer to work in silence?
No, I can't work in silence. I always listen to music, and yeah, the music has changed over the years from what I started with. First of all, it was dance music, which is like, yeah, I can't really paint with emotion to that, can you? So yeah, I don't listen to that anymore. But it's kind of yeah. For years, I listened to Radio 3, which can be a bit dreary in the morning. But now it's definitely sort of a lot of soundtracks, sort of contemporary classical. I kind of like music that's a little bit melancholy, not sort of too miserable, but something that sort of creates a bit of a mood. And that does come across then, I feel, in the work. It kind of gets me in the right place. And I don't like I tend not to do any sort of any other stuff in the studio other than painting now. I don't like do like emailing or anything like that now, or I kind of just put the music on and really focus on getting in the right frame of mind, really. And it seems easier. Yeah.
Do you use music to bring out certain emotions? If you're wanting to do a calmer picture or a more kind of emotional picture?
Yeah, I don't really like I don't really like listening to music in the studio that's too lively or too, I kind of like it to be sort of meditative, quite sort of, I don't know, sort of just, I mean, not sort of, I mean, I quite like sort of experimental sort of music, and something that's more art than sort of commercial music that is sort of sold just to make money. I like music that's interesting and kind of like different sound effects and things like that, and it can it can really help, because you kind of lose yourself in it, and that's really important. So
yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm just reading some questions.
no, not Tom Waits. I don't do vocals. Music, no words, no singing. It's too distracting.
There was a question about. Oh, here we go. I think this is a good one. Just leading off from music. Can you paint when stressed, or is it a catalyst?
No, not really. Sometimes. I had a bit of an argument on the phone recently. I can't say who, just in case they're watching. But I did a bit of angry painting after that, and I was quite happy with the result. But generally, I have to be sort of quite relaxed and quite, in a good place to paint happily. Angry painting is okay, but once in a while, but not as a
Not as a rule.
No, I don't think no Radiohead. No, I mean I appreciate their quality, but not for painting for me.
I suppose one question that I think is almost going to be asked, I think, in a few years' time, but with COVID, the pandemic, all of the lockdowns that we've gone through over the last 12 months,
Yeah.
has it affected you as an artist in the way you paint, and has it influenced your work?
You know, it's funny. Yeah, it has actually. It's not so much. I think what happened is, I mean, if we go back to last March, I mean, really, it kind of like felt like the world was ending, didn't it? You know, and it kind of, we didn't really know what was going to happen, and it was all a bit weird. Everything shut down and everything went dead. So it was kind of pretty weird and pretty frightening. I didn't really know where I wanted to be. I mean, the studio in Shropshire or the studio in Manchester, and I just like being. It felt very weird. I mean, although I'm, you know, very happy like working on my own and everything. It's kind of nice being on your own, but thinking that there's stuff going on outside. When I was working in the studio and then thinking, actually, there's like nobody going past or anything. It's like really, just felt really weird. I didn't like it at all. I didn't feel comfortable. I also felt that, you know, I do work in different ways. Some of the work can be quite whimsical. I kind of felt like it. I just kind of felt a bit lost in the work. I didn't feel that I couldn't really paint whimsical paintings at that time because it didn't seem right. But I also didn't want to paint about the virus, you know. I didn't want to, you know, paint about that. But of course, it had its impact, but not in a direct way. I mean, I think what it did do, actually, I think looking back at last year, ironically, I had probably one of my best years ever. And it also enabled me to get a much bigger studio. And I think what it was is that I didn't really exhibit. I was in one exhibition in London in the summer, and that was about isolation, you know, work done in isolation. So it's funny because I found that because I didn't have all that clutter of all the exhibitions and dealing with everything like that, it kind of gave me that space to really think about my work. So I mean, looking back, I was very productive last year, but also I feel that I created, you know, some very good work. So yeah, so ironically, it was quite, you know, at the time it wasn't, but looking back, it was quite a good year. So yeah.
So, but it wouldn't. Would you say that it hasn't affected your work directly, though? You'll say yes, but not necessarily.
No, I think. I mean, I think, you know, with the current situation, it's getting frustrating, isn't it? I mean, we all understand what we have to do, and you know, with the lockdown and everything, and it's like, you know, the first time it happened, it was a bit like, oh my God, we no one knew what was happening, but kind of now it's sort of, it's irritating, but we're sort of carrying on in ways that we've kind of figured out how we can operate, haven't we? So that's how we're sort of going about things. So so I don't think it's really, no, I mean, I haven't actually changed. No, my work hasn't changed as such, but I feel that it's given me the time to explore and experiment more. Yeah, so.
There was a question here. What were you doing before you did your art degree? Because obviously,
Okay.
did you start when you were 36?
Yeah, 37, 36. It seems like a long time ago now. Yeah, I've always pretty much worked for myself since the age of 27, and I had businesses. I had a distribution business and a juice bar. But it was the juice bar that got me painting because I didn't realise how boring that would be. But I realised I really love setting it all up, the designing and everything, and the creative side of it. But actually working in it day to day wasn't much fun. But if it wasn't for that despair, I wouldn't have started painting. So I kind of am grateful for that in some strange way. So
yeah.
But I think, I mean, having that sort of business background has kind of helped me as well in what I do today. So, you know, it's a hard thing. It's a different part of the brain. I mean, you know, that creative business side bit is you know, it is challenging to, you know, so I tend to not sort of do any sort of businessy stuff when I'm in the studio. I kind of tend to like to keep that separate. So yeah.
Okay, so you keep that separate. So it's kind of like you go into your creative space, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
put a space
Yeah, I
to
tend to
do
do
more.
sort of the businessy stuff in the afternoons. Um, but once I've got, you know, the creative stuff out of the way in the mornings, and that kind of works for me. So yeah, I find if I sort of doing anything sort of the businessy stuff in the morning, it just interrupts with my head and strips away the creativity. So
Have you had any international exhibitions or international residencies?
Not last year, but the year before. Yeah, I've been exhibiting abroad now for a few years, and I did a couple of residencies. One in Italy, in Naples, with Blue Rhino Art Consultancy, which was brilliant fun with a really good crowd of people. And then I did a residency a couple of months before that in Canada, and it was on it was a self-sufficient community, and I had a little studio there, and that was an amazing experience. Well, I did get electrocuted when I was stroking the goats. They put me off goats a little bit, but no, it was an amazing opportunity, and yeah, just you know, it's a vast country, and there's just nothing there, and I was luckily and fortunate to have a car when I was there, and just being out on the road there, and yeah, I've never been to Canada before, and it was an amazing place. So yeah, and
Did your work change in any way from being in a completely different environment like that?
yeah, I wasn't there long enough for my work to really to produce anything that was of, you know, that really satisfied me. But I knew that it would you know, its elements of I think it's all life experiences really, kind of give you that. It kind of all feeds into the work. So you know, I mean, it's a very enriching experience really in many ways, and I think yeah, I mean, I think actually it really came into my work when I got home, and I kind of knew that. So yeah, that was so yeah. I kind of looking forward to doing something like that again one day. I think it's good to paint somewhere else, and I think it's good to be out of your comfort zone, and you know, to just to be out of the, you know, because you go into your studio every day, and it can be a bit obsessional, and it's good sometimes to do something completely different. Yeah.
And it's good to do something in those locations as well, like Naples, so completely different to our environment in the
Yeah,
UK,
yeah,
to
yeah,
kind of take yourself out of your normal environment.
yeah. I think sometimes it's like yeah. When I was in Naples, I kind of looked at the paint, and I kind of like, oh, I didn't really like the paint that I was going to be using, and I kind of thought, yeah. So I kind of thought I'm going to go. I'm going to go monochrome. So I ended up sort of working on some monochrome paintings. So that was a different thing for me, and I kind of really enjoyed it. And I kind of when I got home, I went back to using color again, but it kind of informs you in a different way and teaches you more about contrast and stuff. If you're using, you know, black and white, it kind of, you know, those strong contrasts and the tonal value, it kind of assists you a bit more in when you're using color again. So it all kind of helps really, as you know, as a different experience, push you different ways, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose it develops your artistry into the future as well, doesn't it? It will have an impact on your art in the future.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't say, oh, it made me do this or made me work in that way, but I think every, you know, new experience and, you know, I mean, I know my work's getting better as I'm going along. I mean, I don't, I like to take risks, and I like to always move and try out new things all the time. I don't, you know, I'm not, as I said earlier, I'm not looking to find one way of working and to continue to work that way. I'm always exploring and experimenting, and also incorporating ideas that I've used before into the new ways of working. So it's a constant move forward. So yeah, that excites me, you know, and it has to excite me really. I mean, yeah, that's why I do it. So yeah.
Yeah. Question: when do you know when a painting is finished?
Sometimes you kind of think it's finished, and then a year later you look at it and think, "Oh, I could do a bit more to that." It's yeah, and nothing's really safe until it leaves the studio. I'm looking at those behind you there. I can think of a few things. But no, it's because of abstract art. It kind of yeah. Sometimes you think it's finished, and then a year later you look at it and you get some ideas for it. So you know, you might want to incorporate something that you've done on another painting more recently, and you think actually I could do that on there as well. And so yeah, nothing's really safe. I mean, yeah, if it's left the studio, then it's safer.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Do you overpaint then? If there's something that's been in the studio for a while and it's not working for you, would you completely overpaint a picture?
Sometimes. I mean, sometimes I might sabotage it if it's not going well. Sometimes I can hang on to a painting for a very long time and be really stuck with it. I can think of some paintings at the moment that I'm working on, and I haven't touched them for ages, and I just keep looking at it, and I think I don't know where I'm going with that. But I think the best thing to do is to turn it around and forget about it, and then to get it out another day. And then when you're not feeling so precious about all that work you've put into it, you might just come along. And I mean, the best paintings I've ever done are the ones that I've been struggling on for a long time. I've put them away and just got really frustrated. And then one day I've like been working on other stuff, just picked it up and just did a load of stuff on it, and think, oh my God, you know, that doesn't happen very often, but when that does happen, it's really exciting. So yeah.
The titles of your paintings, they're quite well. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
What inspires you to title your paintings? What is it?
Well, the small panel paintings I do, the 30 by 30s, they're quite difficult to title because they are kind of more sensitive. They're not humorous. They're all about more sort of one organic form in a sort of a solitary place. So it kind of has an emotional pull, and because it's a small scale painting as well, so they are much more difficult to name. But I have much more fun with the bigger paintings because they're more abstract. I'm not really telling a story with the title. Purely, it's more of a reference point, you know, to identify the painting as such. But I do like being quite creative with titles, and they come from everywhere. Sometimes I'd like a word, and then I make a list on my phone. I've got like loads and loads of files of words and combinations of words that I like using. And sometimes I go through them and I just think, you know, I go off them. But then sometimes the painting's got to be right with the title as well. It can't, you know, it has to have some sort of, makes some sort of sense. You know, I've had a painting called Rambunctious Bangers, and I just love the word rambunctious, and I kind of like sometimes as well the way that titles can be quite suggestive, but they don't really sort of, they kind of make sense, but they don't, and I quite like that. And I had a title of a painting, it's a really good painting as well, about 3 years ago. I called it Accidentally Eating Space Cake. I had a conversation with somebody on the phone, and he said that he just ate some cake that his landlady had made or something, and apparently it was his boyfriend, and it had something in it that and so anyway, so yeah, but I just thought that would be an amazing title. So I waited patiently, and then I had a painting that I thought
that fitted the bill.
Yes, that's that. So yeah, but yeah, I like having fun with titles, and yeah.
It's interesting, just going back to what you were saying about the smaller pictures, because the smaller paintings, they're definitely your style, but they are very different to the larger work, aren't they?
Yeah, it's
because
yeah, they are.
When I'm talking, I'm just going to switch.
Okay. Yeah, the thing is, I actually work in the same way, but I'm using different materials. I mean, I'm working on panels rather than canvas on the small paintings, and I tend to use my fingers really more than brushwork on the small paintings as well.
Okay.
But using lots of layers as well. So, but I kind of feel that, I mean, that they do look very different, but I'm kind of searching for something while I'm painting. I don't have a preconceived idea of what the painting's going to look like at the end of it. So yeah, I kind of.
Yeah, it's just good to show people that are not necessarily familiar with the work to see the difference.
Oh, of course, another thing is as well, I produce the small paintings in Shropshire in in the country in a very quiet small studio, whereas the big paintings are produced in the city and in a much bigger studio. So the atmosphere is so different. So it kind of, I don't know, maybe for them a Gemini, I don't know, split personality, but yeah, kind of working. Yes, it's a very different feeling, a very different way of working. Although they're both me, but I quite like the environment that can impact on the way that you work. I mean, for instance, I've tried working outside before. This is, not for me. The slightest breeze and everything blows off. It can be quite problematic. But some people do work outside, and they get that feel of nature in the work, and it kind of it's yeah.
Yeah, just have a look at some more questions. There's some funny ones in here. I can't answer them all because there's so many questions that have come in.
Sorry, Linda's a Gemini too, apparently. I knew there's something funny about Lindy.
Oh, here we go. Do you sign your paintings on the front, on the side, or on the back? Or
yeah. Yeah, whenever I sign it on the front, I always paint over the signature. Well, for one thing, my initials are IRS, and if you're selling a painting to America with IRS on it, it's not going to be very appealing. So I kind of think, I always feel for me that the signature it just doesn't look right for me. I tried different ways, and I feel much happier on the back. Yeah.
I think your images are so striking, though, that if you were to do sort of like a signature, sometimes it can take away from the actual artwork itself sometimes.
Yeah. I think, on the rare occasion I do sign the painting on the front, it probably won't stay. I will probably paint over it. I've never signed a painting on the front, and it's never felt right. So yeah, there's an artist called Josh Smith, American artist, and actually his paintings are basically his signature. So, which is great because it kind of takes away the problem for him. So yeah, I quite admire it. Yeah.
One of the best artist signatures that I've ever seen, and I love, is Juan Miro.
Right, yeah.
His signature is so arty, it's so flamboyant. It's a lovely, lovely signature. And those are kind of like good signatures to have on the front of the picture. So, do you aspire to try anything new in your artwork?
Oh God, yeah, all the time. Yeah, I'm not very sort of keen on trying like different like materials and things like that, because I kind of feel, I have done, when you're at uni, you kind of have to experiment with different materials and stuff, and I kind of found it just created more problems, and I kind of feel, I think it's, as I said earlier, it's kind of, for me, I really think it's important to pick out something and just to really concentrate on doing it as well as you can. I think sometimes if you try and do too many things, and you never really sort of do greatly with any of them, and for me anyway, I mean, some people do, but for me it's more about just keeping it fairly minimal as what materials are used, but just, you know, I mean, like with anything, the more you do something, the better you get. And if you focus, you know, if you really fine tune it and really focus on something, then you're going to get better and better. So that kind of interests me more, really. So visually, I like the paintings to look different, but the materials are pretty much the same. And yeah, kind of, yeah, I like to keep it fairly simple like that.
How do you see your work sort of developing in the future? Is there anything that you want to do that you haven't done with your work?
Yeah, I want to get back into using oils again, and you know, now I've got the space to do that. I'm quite excited by that. So yeah. But other than that, I mean, I love painting. I don't want to sort of incorporate anything else into it. You know, I tried using sort of different textured mediums, and you know, they can create more problems sometimes. And yeah, I kind of, yeah, I kind of just feel paint's enough for me. Yeah.
Master that one. Have you ever done sculpture?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I mean, anyone that knows Manchester knows that the sun doesn't shine much in Manchester. So I think one winter, it was about 5 years ago, I kind of just thought, oh my God, it's so dark, I can't paint here. So I just decided just to pack all the paints, everything away. And I went to the hardware store and just bought a load of stuff and started making stuff. I mean, you know, some of it was quite bizarre, but I really enjoyed it. It was like being a kid again, you know, just putting stuff together and breaking it up and fixing it together and just really just playing really. And it was interesting because it kind of, when I went back to painting again, it kind of made the paintings feel a bit different. So again, that had an impact again. But I mean, I was using plaster, you know, and expanding foam and all sorts of stuff. So it was quite messy. And in the studio I had at the time, it wasn't really suitable for me to work in, you know, in that way. And then painting as well. I think, you know, when you're painting, you need a fairly clean environment. So yeah, I had a great time doing it.
It was a bit of fun.
It was a bit of fun. Yeah.
If someone saw those sculptures, would they associate it with what they know to be your work, or was it?
I don't think so. It's funny because it's interesting. When I moved into the new studio, I had a load of plinths as well, and I kind of, because I had the space, I thought I'd unwrapped these sculptures. I think sculptures is probably, you know, giving them a bit more gravitas than they deserve, but they were 3D things. But I kind of put them on these plinths and I photographed them in the studio. And when I didn't have a lot of painting going on when I first got the studio, it kind of gave it a bit of a sense of drama. So I kind of was, you know, like I haven't packed away for 5 years, and to get them out again, I kind of really enjoyed having them around. Yeah, they did photograph quite well in the space, but then I kind of thought, yeah, they can go away now, and I got them out of the way, and then I really started cracking on with painting. But yeah, so maybe one day I might even paint them. I don't know, but they're around. They're just blobs of nonsense. So yeah, but they do remind me of a very happy time that I was just playing. So
Good. Well, that's the whole thing about creativity, though, isn't it? You've got to try.
Yeah.
You've got to try those things. And actually, Simon has just commented saying, would you say that play is important to your paintings?
Oh, absolutely, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I'm doing every day, is playing, basically. Yeah, I kind of, yeah, it has to be enjoyable, you know. I mean, it is self-indulgent. I kind of, I mean, you know, I don't employ anyone. I'm on my own. I used to employ staff, and, you know, when I had a business and stuff, and I kind of feel there's something about like being on your own and not having, like, you know, the fuss going on around you. You just have music on and you can just play. And yeah, I appreciate it. And, you know, I know I'm lucky to be doing what I'm doing. And yeah, I think, yeah, playing very important, definitely. It's part of discovery. You make mistakes and you learn by the mistakes, and, you know, it can take you to new things. So I think that's a really important, definitely important part.
Yeah. We were talking with the sculptor Jacob Chandler last week,
and we were just saying just how wonderful it is to, one, find something that you absolutely love doing, but then being able to do that for a job or your life. And it's one thing for me, having the gallery, is owning my own business, running the gallery, speaking to artists, dealing with artists and dealing with artwork is a huge passion of mine. And I'm, again, so lucky to be in that position. And do you feel the same with your work?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I've met some very interesting people, you know, and I've sold paintings to some very interesting people as well. And it's kind of been, already it's been really, really interesting. And it's kind of, kind of takes you into a new world. I mean, I used to work in distribution, and that ain't a sexy business, you know. You don't really meet very exciting people in that industry, and it's really quite grubby. Whereas, I mean, in my first job, you know, I was selling washing machines when I left school, and I kind of, I kind of think selling paintings is much nicer. I mean, I had a very nice lady come to the studio a couple of years ago, and I did a commission for her, and she ended up buying 2 paintings that I did. And she was quite emotional when she saw the painting, you know, when I finished the work and she came over to the studio. And it kind of really made me realize at that point that how wonderful it is that it's not always the money sometimes, but, you know, to have an impact like that, and to, you know, it was a very important thing for her, and it had a real sort of emotional impact, and it was amazing. I mean, you know, I kind of would like more of that. I mean, that is a lovely experience. I mean, people buy artwork for different reasons, but you know, that was lovely. That was a really lovely moment. So yeah, and I've had people that have been very, very moved by, you know, paintings and stuff that I've done, and that feeling, it really is, because it does transcend, you know, the money bit, definitely. Yeah.
So what's next? Do you have any plans for 2021?
Yeah, it's funny because I knew that when I got this big studio. I mean, I only moved in there early December, when the other lockdown finished, and then I kind of, you know, up to Christmas, I was just sort of settling in and stuff, and I've really started working in the studio this year, and I'm really sort of starting to get going now, which is quite exciting. But I've noticed that I'm starting to get a lot of interest. I think probably because of the studio, you know, because of, you know, it looks quite good on, you know, social media and stuff, and I think it's going to open up some more opportunities for me. I'm in contact with 2 other galleries now, one in the States and one in Germany, and I've also been in discussions about a very big commission project. And a project like that I wouldn't have been able to do in my last studio because I didn't have the space. So having a much bigger space allows me the opportunity to, you know, to do other projects and things at the same time. But also it kind of it gets me, I suppose, the attention in a way. You know, having a big space, and people are going to, you know, realize that you can do certain things and take on certain projects. So yeah, that kind of helps. But yeah, I mean, with the lockdown, obviously everything's a bit slow at the moment. But I'm feeling very encouraged that I'm getting, you know, these inquiries and stuff at this early on. So I'm feeling sort of quite comfortable about, you know, the future really with that. So
brilliant. Well, I think we've taken up quite a lot of your time. It's been on an hour.
Oh.
So, to be honest, we could probably go for another hour because there's so many other questions. we'll have to do it another time.
Love to. It's been fun.
But for everyone that is still watching, we've got a link to Ian's online brochure on my Soden Collections bio page. So have a look at that. And we're doing another live art talk next week, next Thursday at 7 p.m. with another Shropshire artist called Rob Leckie. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and these will also be uploaded onto the website as well. So in the next few weeks, we should have sort of like a catalogue of all the artists that we've spoken to. So yeah, thanks so much, Ian, and thanks.
Very much enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Cheers.